Abdul Gaddy Jr., born January 26, 1992. The year is 2009. High school basketball is loaded with talent, but few point guards stand out like Abdul Gaddy. At 6'3", with a polished handle, high IQ, and a natural feel for the game, he's everything a coach wants in a floor general. He plays with a patience beyond his years, never rushed, and always in control. Scouts compare him to some of the best pass-first point guards to come before him, guys like Andre Miller or even a young Chris Paul. He doesn't rely on blazing speed or flashy moves. Instead, he dictates the pace, picking defenses apart with precision. By his senior year, he's the number 2 ranked point guard in the country, only trailing John Wall, a generational athlete destined for NBA stardom. Even in that class, stacked with future pros like DeMarcus Cousins, Derek Favors, and Lance Stevenson, Gaddy holds his own. He earns McDonald's All-American honors, proving his name belongs among the best. Coaches and analysts believes he's a sure thing, maybe not a one and done, but at worst a future NBA starter with a long career ahead. Coming out of Washington, Gaddy commits to Arizona early, but when legendary coach Lute Olson retires unexpectedly, he reopens his recruitment. The decision leads him to the University of Washington, where head coach Lorenzo Romar is building a program filled with talent. It seems like the perfect setup. A local kid staying home to play for a fast-paced team that lets guards shine. But something shifts. The path that once seemed inevitable starts to take an unexpected turn. The same scouts who once raved about Gaddy began to question his upside. The natural feel for the game is still there, but the dominance they expected never fully materializes. Before he can make his mark, injuries and circumstances knock him off track. By the time the NBA draft rolls around in 2013, his name isn't called. The player who once shared headlines with John Wall is now just another prospect trying to fight for a spot in the league. So what happened? How does a player with Gaddy's talent and pedigree go from an elite high school recruit to a player who never makes the NBA? His story is a reminder that the road to the league is never as simple as talent alone. For Abdul Gaddy, he had a smooth game with lots of potential early on, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. What happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Abdul Gaddy is a 6'3" point guard from Tacoma, Washington, where he quickly built a reputation as one of the most polished and intelligent point guards in the country. From an early age, his game stood out, not because of overwhelming athleticism, but because of how effortlessly he controlled the floor. He had the size, the court vision, and a natural ability to make the right play at the right time. Playing for Bellarmine Prep, Gaddy became a star, drawing comparisons to NBA caliber guards. By his junior year, he had already committed to Arizona, but as mentioned, after Lute Olson's unexpected retirement, he decided to stay home and play for Washington. Alongside other top recruits, he was expected to lead the Huskies into national prominence. With all the talent in the world, the future seemed bright for Abdul Gaddy, but the next phase of his career didn't unfold as planned. Stunt number 1, limited athleticism in an explosive era. Abdul Gaddy had everything you'd want in a traditional point guard: size, IQ, and leadership. But by the time he reached the college level, the game was shifting. The NBA and high-level college programs were no longer built around pass-first point guards unless they had elite athleticism or an exceptional skill to compensate. Gaddy, for all his talent, didn't have the explosiveness of a John Wall, the shiftiness of Kyrie Irving, or the deep shooting range that was becoming more valuable. At Washington, he was immediately surrounded by more athletically gifted guards: Isaiah Thomas, Tony Roden, and Terrence Ross, players who could blow by defenders and create offense on their own. Gaddy, by contrast, played a more methodical game, relying on half-court execution and controlled decision-making. It worked in high school, but in college, where defenses were quicker and stronger, it exposed his lack of a true separation skill. He wasn't a fast break monster, he didn't have a deadly pull-up jumper, and he wasn't a lockdown defender to make up for it. In a different era, his game may have translated better. But in the post-Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook era, where guards were expected to attack downhill, Gaddy found himself playing from behind. Instead of being the centerpiece of Washington's offense, he became more of a complementary piece, steady, reliable, but not dominant. This early realization changed everything. Scouts who once saw him as a surefire NBA guard started questioning his upside. If he wasn't athletic enough to break down college defenses, how would he do it against NBA level speed? The doubts grew louder, and Gaddy was no longer viewed as the future star many had projected, making his road to the league much tougher. Stunt number 2, the ACL injury that stalled his development. For any player on the rise, timing is everything. The right momentum at the right time can push a prospect into the NBA conversation. But for Abdul Gaddy, just as he was starting to find his footing at Washington, during his sophomore season in 2011, Gaddy suffered a torn ACL in practice, ending his year after just 13 games. At the time, he had been making noticeable strides. He was becoming a more confident scorer, improving his leadership, and looking more and more comfortable running a team. But an ACL tear, especially for a guard who already lacked elite athleticism, was a brutal setback. By the time he returned as a junior, he wasn't the same. The injury had taken away whatever explosiveness he did have, and it showed in his play. He was still a high IQ passer, but the hesitation in his movement was clear. The confidence in attacking the rim wasn't there like before, and his defense suffered as well. More importantly, the NBA pipeline had moved on. New, younger, and more dynamic guards were entering the conversation, while Gaddy was now seen as an aging college player trying to regain his rhythm. Historically, ACL injuries have been career-altering, especially before the advancements in modern sports medicine. Players like Derrick Rose and Shaun Livingston eventually recovered, but their paths were far from smooth. For a player like Gaddy, who was already being questioned for his lack of explosiveness, this injury sealed the doubts in scouts' minds. Instead of showing steady improvement each year, Gaddy's development hit a wall. By his senior season, he was solid but unspectacular, no longer a player scouts were banking on as an NBA-level talent. The injury didn't just sideline him for a season, it took away his momentum at the worst possible time. Stunt number 3, a skill set that didn't translate to the modern NBA. Even without the ACL injury, Abdul Gaddy still faced an uphill battle to make the NBA. His pass-first, methodical style once thrived in structured offenses, but by 2013, the league had shifted towards scoring guards who could create their own offense and stretch the floor with shooting. The rise of Steph Curry and Damian Lillard changed how teams valued point guards. Instead of traditional facilitators, they wanted shooters, playmakers, and explosive athletes who could take over games. Gaddy never developed into that type of player. Despite playing 4 years in college, he remained a low-volume scorer, averaging just 10.9 points per game his senior year, never showing the takeover ability that NBA teams expect from lead guards. His biggest weakness? Shooting. He never shot above 32% from 3, making him a liability in an era emphasizing floor spacing. Without an elite scoring skill, he needed to be an exceptional defender to compensate, but he wasn't. He wasn't a bad defender, but he also wasn't locking down opponents at a high level, making him even less attractive to NBA scouts. Meanwhile, other guards in his draft class, Trey Burke, Michael Carter-Williams, Dennis Schroeder, fit the modern NBA mold better. They were more athletic, aggressive scorers, or had a unique skill that separated them. Gaddy, despite his IQ and experience, didn't have that one defining trait that set him apart. When the 2013 NBA draft came around, his name wasn't called. He had the tools to be a good pro, but the NBA no longer valued his style of play. Without a clear role at the next level, he took his career overseas, where his structured, team-oriented game was better suited. All in all, Abdul Gaddy's career is a reminder that talent and early success don't always guarantee an NBA future. He had the pedigree, the IQ, and the skill, but 3 key factors worked against him. His lack of elite athleticism kept him from separating against high-level defenders, his ACL injury robbed him of crucial development time, and his traditional pass-first style didn't fit the NBA's modern preference for scoring point guards. By the time he finished college, the league had moved on to more dynamic, high-scoring guards, leaving Gaddy without a clear NBA role. Despite going undrafted, he carved out a respectable pro career overseas, playing in leagues across Italy, Germany, Greece, and Mexico. While he never reached the heights many expected, he still made a living playing the game he loved. Some players are built for the NBA, others, no matter how skilled, just miss the window. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.